Before Rome was spoken aloud, before marble, before banners, before laws carved into stone, there was only land and water and time moving very slowly. Shh. The Italian peninsula rests beneath a heavy sky. The air is cool, damp with the scent of wet earth and wild grass. Low hills rise gently, not yet shaped by walls or ambition. A river moves through the landscape with no awareness of destiny. The Tiber flows patiently, ripple, ripple, its surface catching faint reflections of the moon, breaking them, rejoining them again. Bare feet press into soft soil. The ground yields slightly, cool and alive. Each step leaves a shallow impression, quickly softened by moisture and night air. There are no roads yet, only paths remembered by animals and by people who do not yet know they are standing at the center of a future empire. Somewhere nearby, a small fire breathes. Click, crackle. Its light flickers against wooden posts and woven reeds. Smoke curls upward slowly, carrying the scent of burning branches and animal fat. It settles into hair, into cloth, into memory. The people here speak quietly, not from fear, but from habit. Night demands respect. A child sleeps wrapped in rough wool. The fabric scratches softly against skin. A woman adjusts the cloth with careful fingers, slow, deliberate. She listens to the rhythm of breathing. Inhale, exhale. In the distance, an owl calls, "Hoo, hoo." These people do not know the word Rome. They do not imagine legions, emperors, or stone arches. Their world is smaller, but complete. Wooden bowls hold grain. Water skins sweat in the cool air. Tools lean against a post, worn smooth by hands that repeat the same motions every day. Stone against stone, thud, scrape. Simple sounds, reassuring sounds. Above them, the stars stretch endlessly, clear, unblinking. Constellations drift slowly across the sky, unnoticed, unnamed. The stars have already seen empires rise and fall elsewhere. They wait patiently for another. The river continues to move. It does not hurry. It does not resist. It carries silt, leaves, quiet reflections of the night. One day bridges will cross it, but tonight only water touching water. Ripple. Time itself feels thick here, heavy, unrushed. The land does not yet know what it will become, and neither do the people sleeping beside the fire. Shh. This is where Rome begins, not with power, not with conquest, but with silence and breath and earth cooling beneath the stars. The night slowly loosens its grip, not all at once, but gently, as if the darkness itself is breathing out. Shh. A pale line appears at the edge of the sky. Not light yet, only the promise of it. The hills above the river emerge one by one, their shapes soft and rounded, wrapped in thin mist that clings to the slopes like a slow-moving thought. The ground here is uneven. Stone presses through soil, cool, firm, ancient. Bare feet and leather soles meet it with a quiet sound. Step, step. Each footfall is absorbed by grass damp with dew. From above, the Tiber can be seen winding lazily through the valley. Its surface is darker now, holding the last shadows of night. A faint breeze brushes across it, raising small ripples that catch the newborn light. Ripple, ripple. On the hills, shepherds begin to stir. A cloak is drawn tighter around shoulders, wool against skin, rough, familiar, comforting. Hands reach for a wooden staff, its surface polished smooth by years of grip and release. The staff presses into the earth. Thud. Sheep shift and murmur softly, low bleating. Their breath rises in thin clouds, dissolving into the cool air. The smell of animals mixes with grass, smoke, and morning dampness. It is a scent that speaks of routine, of survival, of days repeating themselves with quiet certainty. Someone pauses at the crest of a hill. From here, the land opens outward. 7 hills, though no one counts them yet. They simply exist, separate, patient, waiting. The sky continues to change. Blue seeps in slowly, carefully. Stars fade without ceremony, slipping away one by one. No one watches them leave. A bird flutters from a nearby tree. Flap, flutter. Its wings disturb droplets resting on leaves. Water falls softly back to the ground. Tap, tap. There is no city here, no walls, no gates, only open space and possibility still asleep. A small shrine stands near a cluster of stones, nothing grand, just stacked rocks darkened by age and touch. Someone kneels before it. Fingers brush the stone surface, cold, steady, reassuring. A murmur escapes the lips, a prayer without words, a habit older than memory. The hills listen. Wind moves through tall grass, bending it in waves. Whoosh. The sound travels across the slope, down toward the river, and fades. The land answers only with silence. From this height, the future cannot be seen, only fields, water, sky. And yet something settles here, not destiny, not ambition, attention. The hills observe the river observes the hills. Together they hold the space where something will one day gather, slowly, inevitably. For now, the sun finally breaks free of the horizon. Light spills across the valley, touching stone, grass, skin. Warmth spreads. Day begins. And still, no one knows the name that will rise from these hills. Shh. Continue to the next chapter. The story does not begin with certainty. It begins with a whisper. Shh. Long before ink, before stone inscriptions, before dates and careful records, there is only a voice speaking softly by firelight. Click, crackle. Night has returned to the hills. The sky is deep and dark again, heavy with stars. Flames dance low, their light stretching and shrinking across faces gathered close together. Shadows grow long, then collapse back into themselves. a voice begins. Not loud, not commanding, measured, rhythmic, patient. Each word placed gently into the air, as if it might drift away if spoken too quickly. Once. The word hangs there. Once. A child leans forward, eyes wide, breath slow. The wool around their shoulders smells of smoke and lanolin. Someone shifts nearby. Click. The voice continues. 2 infants, born into danger, set adrift. The river listens. Ripple. The Tiber moves through the night as it always has, indifferent and eternal. Moonlight breaks across its surface, shattered by current and debris. Branches scrape against stone. Scrape. Knock. A basket floats, reeds woven tight, water laps against its sides. Gentle splash. Inside, small bodies breathe in uneven rhythm, sleep without dreams. The basket catches in the roots of a fig tree. Wood creaks softly. The river releases it. From the darkness, a shape approaches. Footsteps are absent, only breath, slow, warm, alive. A wolf. Her fur glimmers faintly in moonlight, silver and shadow. She lowers her head, nostrils flare, scent fills the night. The voice by the fire pauses here, just long enough. Shh. Milk, warmth, life continued where it should have ended. Around the fire, no one questions this. Myth is not something to argue with, it is something to enter. The boys grow. Hands grip stone, feet climb hills, laughter echoes briefly, then disappears into wind. Ha! Ha! Muscles form beneath sun-darkened skin. Eyes learn the land, the river, the sky. One day, there is a choice. A line drawn, a boundary imagined. The earth itself waits. Stone strikes stone. Clack! A wall rises slowly, uneven, human. Dust coats hands and lungs. A heartbeat quickens. Anger follows. Now the voice softens. A brother falls. Thud. Silence stretches. Long. Heavy. The fire crackles. No one moves. The story has reached its wound. Romulus stands alone, breath harsh, chest rising and falling. The hills do not judge. The river does not speak. Only the night bears witness. The voice ends not with triumph, but with stillness. Around the fire, eyes lower. Someone exhales slowly. Myth settles into memory, not as fact, but as meaning. From this story, a city will claim its soul. Violence and survival, brotherhood and loss, power paid for in blood. The fire dims, ash collapses inward. Click. Above, the stars remain unmoved, and the name, Rome, begins to take shape, not in stone, but in story. Shh. Morning arrives without ceremony. No horns, no banners, only light slipping quietly over the hills. The ground is cool again beneath bare feet. Dew clings to grass, soaking into hems of rough tunics. Stone fragments lie scattered where hands have been working since dawn. They are not uniform, not polished. Each one carries its own weight, its own shape, its own resistance. A hand reaches down, fingers close around limestone. Cold, grainy, it leaves a faint dust on the skin. Thud. Stone meets earth. Another follows, and another. No one speaks much. Speech is unnecessary when effort fills the air. Breath becomes the rhythm. Inhale, exhale. Muscles tighten, release. The first wall is not impressive. It leans slightly. Gaps appear where stones refuse to align. But it stands, and that is enough. Nearby, a shallow trench marks a boundary that exists mostly in the mind, a line between inside and outside, between us and them, between safety and the unknown. A man pauses to wipe sweat from his brow. His forearm smells of salt and dust. He squints toward the river, bright now under the sun. Light flashes across water. Glint. The Tiber continues to move, unconcerned with walls. A woman kneels at the edge of the construction. She presses a small offering into the soil. Grain, a drop of wine. Her fingers linger a moment longer than necessary. Murmur. Not a prayer spoken aloud, a feeling released into the ground. Tools scrape, stone shifts, scrape, drag. A wooden lever creaks under pressure. Creak! The sound echoes briefly, then fades into open air. Children watch from a distance. They kick pebbles. They trace lines in dirt with sticks. They imagine shapes that do not yet exist. Someone laughs, a short sound, then stops. Above them the sun climbs higher. Shadows shorten. The heat thickens. Dust floats lazily in the air, catching the light. This is not yet a city. It is a promise, fragile, uneven, human. At the highest point of the hill, a space is cleared. Nothing stands there now, but people avoid stepping into it instinctively, as if the ground itself has been reserved. Later, a simple ritual. A blade flashes briefly, a quiet animal sound, breath, stillness. Blood touches stone, dark, final. No celebration follows, only acceptance. As the day stretches on, the wall grows longer. Hands ache, backs bend. The sun begins its descent. When evening comes, the stones remain. They cool slowly as shadows return. They hold warmth from the day. They remember the hands that placed them. The first boundary now exists, not grand, not eternal, but real. Shh. Night settles around the wall. Stars appear again. The river whispers in the distance. Rome has not yet risen, but it has been anchored. Power does not arrive loudly. It settles, slowly, like dust after footsteps fade. The city is still small, its walls low, its streets uneven, yet something has changed. A figure walks through the early morning mist, not faster than others, not taller, but noticed. Sandals touch stone. Step, step. The sound echoes faintly between simple wooden structures and newly set rock. People pause what they are doing, not abruptly, just long enough to look. A king. Not crowned in gold, not wrapped in silk. His authority lives in posture, in memory, in expectation. A cloak rests on his shoulders, heavy with the smell of smoke and weather. The fabric brushes against his arm as he moves. Fabric whisper. Nearby, the city wakes. A pot is lifted from embers. Steam rises slowly. Hiss. Bread cracks as it is broken. Crack. The scent drifts through the air, warm grain, ash, morning hunger. The king stops near the open space at the hill's height, the place left untouched, reserved. Here the air feels different, still. An augur waits. His staff is curved, polished smooth by ritual and repetition. He tilts his head upward, eyes narrow against the brightening sky. Birds pass overhead, wings beating softly. Flap, flap. Silence stretches. The king does not speak. He watches. He waits. A bird turns. Another follows. The augur exhales. A sign. The king nods once. That is enough. Decisions are made like this, quietly, through symbols rather than force. The city accepts it without question. For now. As the sun rises higher, the king moves on. He listens to disputes over land, over animals, over boundaries not yet fixed by law. Voices remain low. Respect shapes sound. A hand gestures, another responds. A judgment is spoken, simple and final. No scroll records it, only memory. By midday, heat presses down, stone warms beneath feet, the air thickens. Cicadas begin their steady rhythm. Click, click, click. The king rests briefly in shade, his back against wood, the surface rough, solid. Children pass nearby, chasing one another, laughter short and sharp. He watches them without smiling, without frowning. Time stretches behind his eyes. These kings will rule one by one. 7 they will say later, each leaving something behind, a wall, a ritual, a law, a scar. Not all will be remembered kindly. Some will rule too long, some too harshly. Some will forget that power borrowed from the people can be taken back. As evening approaches, the king returns home. Oil lamps are lit. Click. Flames steady. Shadows deepen. Outside, the city settles again. The walls cool. The river whispers. The hills remain. The age of kings feels stable, enduring. But beneath the calm, a quiet tension begins to form. Shh. The sun has dipped behind the hills, leaving the valley in a soft amber glow. Shadows stretch long across uneven streets. The air carries the faint scent of smoke, dust, and the river's moisture. The city holds its breath, caught between the old and the new. Shh. No king walks the streets tonight. No figure of singular authority moves through the quiet. Instead, the people gather, small groups huddled in courtyards, around fires, whispering plans in voices low and cautious. The hills listen, the river listens, even the stones, warmed by day, seem to pause in expectation. Click, crackle. This is the night when power begins to shift. The walls no longer belong to one man, but to all who live within them. Debate becomes a ritual, every word measured, deliberate. Hands gesture slowly, marking emphasis, tracing invisible lines in the air. Each face absorbs the meaning, storing it like grain for the future. The forum is quiet, empty now. Tomorrow it will hum with barter, conversation, dispute, and decree. Tonight it is a canvas of stone, echoing faintly with the footsteps of those who came before. Step, step. A dog wanders past, soft paws on cobblestones, nose brushing cool air. In a small courtyard, a man speaks to a group of elders. His tone is gentle, deliberate. He outlines a vision of shared power, of checks and balances, of laws written not by one, but agreed upon by many. The elders nod slowly, absorbing each word. Eyes flick between one another, gauging reaction, contemplating trust. A child leans against a post, listening, eager, uncomprehending, yet aware of change in the rhythm of the city. Breath rises in small clouds, curling and dissolving in the cool night air. From the edge of the forum, a torch flickers, light dances on stone, illuminating carvings of past leaders, reminders of those whose power once dominated the hills. Now they serve only as shadows, shadows to be measured, respected, and slowly set aside. Rustle, whisper. Outside the city, the Tiber moves quietly, carrying with it leaves, soil, and the soft reflections of stars. The river has watched countless transitions, countless rises and falls. It does not hurry, it does not judge, it only moves. Ripple, ripple. Inside, plans continue. Rules are written in sand, then revised. Oaths are taken with hands over hearts, breath held in stillness. No one speaks loudly, no one rushes. This is a beginning, not loud, not violent, but enduring. A foundation laid carefully, like the stones of the city itself. Above, the hills darken, the first stars pierce the sky, steady and unblinking. They watch, silent witnesses to a city learning to govern itself. And in the distance, the wind carries a whisper through trees, grass, and the river's edge. Change has arrived. Night drapes itself gently among the small dwellings clustered among the hills. Wooden beams glint faintly in the last of the sun's glow, while thatch smells of warmth, smoke, and earth. The air is thick with the faint aroma of cooking fires, soft with the fragrance of grains and herbs simmering in clay pots. Inside one modest home, the floor is smooth with worn stone and packed earth. A woman moves quietly, fingers brushing against the walls as she carries a small bowl of food. The texture is rough beneath her palm, uneven yet familiar. A child sleeps on a low mat, blanket pulled tight against small shoulders. The wool is coarse but comforting, rustling softly with each tiny movement. Outside, the wind caresses the hills, stirring grasses, shaking leaves, and carrying faint sounds of distant life. A dog turns in his sleep, low growl, then settles again. Smoke drifts lazily from a nearby hearth, spiraling into the cool night air. The smell of ash and wood mixes with damp soil and the scent of drying herbs. A man returns from the river, sandals still damp from the morning journey. His tunic clings slightly to his back, soaked in sweat and water. He kneels, pressing hands against the floor, feeling the solid weight of stone beneath his palms. Breathing slowly, he savors the quiet rhythm of the home, the sense of order, the sense of safety. The family gathers in a small circle. They speak softly, words floating across the room like drifting leaves. No urgency, no demand, only the hum of daily life, the measured clink of bowls, the soft scrape of a wooden spoon across a clay dish. A lamp is lit, oil pooling steadily at its base. Flickering flame casts long, slow shadows against walls, stretching and shrinking in hypnotic rhythm. Stone and wood glow under its warmth, each crack and notch revealed in delicate detail. Outside, the city begins to quiet. Horses rest near their stables. A soft breeze shifts the river, carrying faint ripples to the city's edge. Crickets begin their gentle chorus. Above all, the night sky spreads its deep indigo blanket. Stars pierce through it with steady, silent light. They watch the Roman home, the hearth, the quiet rituals of living, the delicate balance of survival, warmth, and care. In this simplicity, Rome grows unnoticed, not in walls or laws, but in the quiet heartbeat of its people. Each meal, each whispered word, each breath adds weight to the future. It is a home. It is a beginning. It is the cradle of a civilization yet unnamed. Legions on the move. The first light of dawn spills over the hills once more. Mist clings to the valleys, curling like slow smoke above the ground. The Tiber reflects pale gold, moving quietly, indifferent to what is about to unfold. Shh. On the horizon, a line of figures appears, steady, deliberate, in measured rhythm. Soldiers, young and old, leather sandals brushing dust, their armor faintly clinking with each step. Clink, clank, step, step. The sound is hypnotic, almost musical, carrying across the hills and into the valleys below. They march not as individuals, but as one organism, shields pressed close, the sun glinting in bronze and iron, helmets catching light and shadow in turn. The air smells faintly of sweat, leather, and the faint tang of blood from past training. A horse whinnies softly nearby. Whinny! Snort. It shifts beneath its rider, hooves pressing into damp earth. A young centurion leads the formation, eyes scanning hills and valleys. His hand rests lightly on the hilt of his sword, not for violence, not yet, but for readiness, for discipline, for survival. Firm inhale, exhale. The path is uneven. Loose stones shift beneath feet. Hands grip spears, adjusting to the subtle tilt of hills and the slickness of dew. A pebble rolls. Thud. Roll. A bird takes flight, startled, flapping wings echoing in the still morning air. The men pause at a river crossing. Water ripples quietly over stones, clear and cold. Ripple, splash. Some bend to drink. Others check their sandals, their straps, their weapons. Everything is repeated with care, nothing rushed, each movement deliberate, meditative, almost ceremonial. From the edge of the formation, a drummer taps a steady rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. Not loud, but enough to synchronize movement. The cadence of the legions, the heartbeat of an army, measured in seconds and patience. The hills themselves seem to acknowledge it, responding with whispering winds through grass. And still there is no battle, no enemy yet, no banners raised in defiance, only motion, only preparation, only the slow, methodical shaping of discipline. As the sun rises higher, shadows shrink, and the heat begins to press upon leather and metal. Breath becomes heavier, sweat clings, and the dust rises around the boots like a thin fog. Step, shuffle, scrape. The river continues its endless journey, oblivious to men and empires. Ripple. War with Carthage. The sun dips low over the hills, casting long, trembling shadows across the dusty roads. The air carries a faint, metallic tang, mixed with the smell of dry earth and the salt of the nearby sea. Legions prepare quietly, not with haste, but with the deliberate patience of those who know the weight of what is to come. Ships rock gently in the harbor. Wood creaks under the strain of ropes and the slow swell of water. Thud, creak, ripple. Sails hang slack, smelling of tar and linen. Seagulls cry faintly above, wings cutting the orange sky. Flap, cry. Soldiers move like shadows along the docks. Leather glints, belts shift with soft clicks. Sandals brush against stone. Every step is measured, every breath drawn carefully. They carry not just weapons, but the invisible weight of duty, of family, of history. From the cliffs, scouts watch the horizon. Eyes scan for distant sails. Sea spray hits their faces, cold and sharp. The wind carries whispers of an unknown world beyond the horizon. Shh, hiss. The city behind them hums faintly, a distant murmur of life continuing despite war. Bread baked, children laughing softly, fires burning. Life moves in small rhythms while empires prepare to clash. Orders are given quietly, gestures sharp and deliberate. Hands point, fingers trace invisible lines on maps scratched in sand. No shouting, no panic, only the steady pulse of preparation. The sea laps at the hulls of ships, marking time with soft, persistent sound. Splash, splash. At night, torches flicker along the shoreline. Their light dances across water, reflecting in ripples that shift endlessly. The scent of smoke and salt fills the air. Murmurs of prayers rise into the darkness, soft and steady. Soldiers sleep with armor at their sides. Breath rises in clouds in the cool night air. Dreams mix with memory, with fear, with hope. The world seems to hold its breath along with them. Victory and unease. The battlefield is silent now, though it has sung with the clash of metal and the cries of men not long ago. Smoke curls upward from small fires, thin ribbons against the fading light. The scent of burned wood and iron lingers, mingling with dust and the faint sweetness of crushed herbs beneath marching feet. Legions stand in formation, but there is no triumph in their faces. Eyes scan the horizon, not with pride, but with caution. The ground beneath them is uneven, scarred with footprints, blood, and the remnants of hastily abandoned camps. Step, shuffle. The sun casts long shadows across helmets and shields, reflecting light that seems almost too bright after the long hours of combat. Victory has been claimed, yet a quiet unease settles over the ranks. For every prize taken, a cost is recorded. Every wall conquered leaves a whisper of what could have been lost. The river, flowing steadily nearby, does not judge or celebrate. Ripple, ripple. It continues its endless journey, a silent witness to human ambition. Carthaginian prisoners are led away. Their chains clink softly, clink, clink. Some hold their heads high, others bow, eyes cast downward. The victors feel a mix of relief, exhaustion, and an unexpected shadow of doubt. In the camp, fires burn low. Wood pops quietly as it shifts. Crackle. Soldiers tend to their wounds, rubbing at aching muscles, the scent of healing herbs mixing with sweat and dust. Some speak softly, recounting the day's events in a monotone rhythm, as if speaking aloud will make sense of what cannot be fully grasped. The city beyond the hills waits. Rome is not yet aware of how the land has changed, not just the territory, but the people. The soldiers return, carrying stories, treasures, and a quiet understanding that power is fragile, fleeting, and never entirely secure. Evening descends with a soft amber glow. Birds settle into trees. Burr, chirp. The river mirrors the sky, reflecting clouds tinged with violet and gold. The earth exhales. Victory has been earned, but unease lingers like the last note of a song that will not resolve. Rome has grown larger, richer, stronger, and yet in the quiet corners of the empire, whispers begin of envy, of ambition, of the inevitable price of power. Morning returns to Rome, but it is not the quiet dawn of the hills anymore. The city hums with the energy of a place expanding too quickly, too eagerly. Stone streets echo with footsteps, wheels creaking on uneven paths, and merchants calling softly to announce their wares. Click, clatter, shuffle. The market square is alive. Clay pots and woven baskets are stacked carefully, filled with grains, olives, and figs. The air smells of warm bread, fresh herbs, and the faint tang of livestock. People weave between stalls, bargaining in low tones, voices rising and falling in rhythm like waves on the Tiber. Tap, tap, murmur. Children run along narrow alleys, laughter sharp and fleeting. Ha, ha! They chase one another past doors that swing gently on worn hinges, past fountains where water drips endlessly, echoing against stone. Drip, drop, Artisans shape clay, metal, and wood, hands moving with practiced care. The rasp of stone against stone, the scratch of chisel, the hiss of water on metal, small symphonies of labor. Scrape, hiss, tap. Their work builds Rome quietly, piece by piece, even as the city's volume grows louder. Noble houses rise between workshops and taverns, walls stacked with limestone and timber, their shadows stretching across narrow streets. Windows are open to catch the breeze, letting in sounds of daily life, mixing with the smell of smoke and bread, the occasional bark of a dog, the faint clatter of a dropped coin. The forum hums with conversation. Elders debate law, merchants discuss trade, soldiers report quietly to officers. Their voices mingle with the wind, carrying hints of tension beneath the ordinary chatter. The city is alive, and yet a quiet edge lingers beneath the surface. Above, the sun climbs higher, burning warmth into stone and clay. The Tiber continues to flow, silver and steady, reflecting the brightness of the sky and the movement of the city along its banks. Ripple, glint. Evening approaches, and the city does not sleep. Lanterns are lit, flickering across walls and streets, shadows stretching and shrinking as if dancing to an unseen rhythm. Click, flicker. The noise will continue. The life will continue. Rome grows, louder, denser, busier, and beneath the vibrant pulse of the city, a quiet question remains. Can this ever-ending energy be contained? Or will the volume of ambition and desire someday overwhelm the streets themselves? Shh. The sun rises slowly over the hills, spilling golden light across the early streets of the city. Stone pavements, uneven and worn by countless feet, glisten faintly with dew. The air carries the earthy scent of damp stone, mingled with the faint aroma of animals and cooking fires. Traders and travelers move along the new roads, each step making a quiet rhythm against the cobblestones. Wheels creak softly as carts roll over stones, carrying grain, clay, and timber from distant villages. The streets wind like veins through the city, connecting hills, homes, and the bustling forum. Every turn reveals a new story: a potter shaping clay, a baker kneading dough, a child chasing a dog along the edge of a fountain. Every sound builds into the pulse of Rome, steady, rhythmic, alive. Roads lead beyond the city walls, too, stretching into the countryside, where olive groves and vineyards rise in gentle waves. Farmers walk slowly, carrying baskets of fruit, their breaths rising in the cool morning air. The distant Tiber glimmers, reflecting both the sun and the movement of people along its banks. Along these roads, soldiers march in quiet formation, practicing discipline with measured footsteps. Merchants pause briefly to nod or bow, their eyes wary yet respectful. The roads are both path and stage, carrying commerce, conversation, and subtle power. At night, lanterns flicker along the streets, casting long, shifting shadows. The sounds of the day soften into whispers: a dog padding along a quiet alley, the rustle of fabric in a breeze, the distant drip of water from a fountain. These roads are the lifeblood of the city. They carry its people, its goods, its stories. They will carry armies, ideas, and eventually the weight of empires. And though they seem ordinary, each stone is placed with care, each turn intentional, building a city that will endure far beyond the lives of those who walk it today. Temples and shadows. Evening falls gently over Rome, softening the edges of buildings and bathing the streets in a muted amber light. The scent of burning incense drifts from small altars tucked into corners, mixing with the earthy aroma of stone and soil. High on a hill, the first temples stand tall, modest yet deliberate in their design. Stone walls rise carefully, worn smooth in places where hands have touched them countless times. Inside, columns cast long shadows that stretch across the floor, shifting slowly as the last light of day fades. A priest moves quietly along the inner chamber, his sandals brushing the stone. Step, step. His fingers graze carved reliefs, each depicting gods and heroes long remembered. The scent of oil lamps mixes with incense, heavy and calming. Whiff, flicker. Outside, worshippers pass quietly, offering grain, wine, or small figurines at the temple doors. Some bow, some kneel, some whisper prayers that rise softly into the night. The city hums faintly beyond the hills, but here it is still, meditative, almost reverent. A breeze shifts through the open portico, carrying with it the smell of damp earth from the nearby Tiber. Leaves rustle softly in response, blending with the occasional drip of water from stone spouts. Drip, rustle. The shadows lengthen and bend as night deepens. Fires flicker across the city, tiny stars mirrored in windows, puddles, and polished metal. People return to homes, doors creaking softly on old hinges, voices dropping into whispers. Creak, murmur. In the temples, statues seem to watch quietly, their stony eyes calm and patient. Time flows differently here, measured not by footsteps or voices, but by flickering flame and the silent movement of shadows. The air holds the weight of devotion, memory, and quiet expectation. Rome grows not just in walls and streets, but in spirit. Each prayer, each ritual, each careful gesture adds to the pulse of a city learning to balance human ambition with reverence for the unseen. And in these moments of quiet reflection, the foundations of a civilization, its culture, its gods, its rituals, are etched slowly into stone and memory. Dawn seeps slowly over the hills, spilling light into the narrow streets and onto the worn stones of the Forum. The air carries the faint smell of earth, dust, and the remnants of last night's fires. Shadows linger between columns, stretching long across the ground, softening the edges of carved reliefs. Shh. A baker approaches first, carrying bread still warm from the oven. The crust cracks softly under careful hands. Crack, shuffle. The smell of yeast and smoke drifts through the square, drawing sleepy villagers from nearby houses. Merchants begin to arrange wares in careful rows, clay pots, bundles of herbs, strings of beads. Their fingers brush textures smooth and rough, polished and raw. Scrape, tap. The gentle murmur of voices rises, measured, rhythmic, like a slow river feeding the city's life. Children weave between stalls, laughter soft and fleeting. Ha, ha. They dodge carts and animals, their footsteps echoing across the stone. A dog pads along quietly, nose close to the ground, ears alert to every movement. Pad, sniff. Nearby, elders gather under the shade of columns. They speak in low, deliberate tones, recounting news, offering advice, making plans that ripple outward through the city. Each gesture is considered, each word measured. Flick, murmur. The Tiber glimmers beyond the forum, reflecting the slowly climbing sun. Its surface ripples with gentle current, carrying small leaves and petals toward the distant hills. Ripple, glint. The city seems to breathe in unison with the river, alive yet patient, aware yet calm. A lone soldier passes through the square, sandals clinking softly on stone. Step, clink. He nods to familiar faces, silent acknowledgement of the order and rhythm of daily life. In this place, power is not only in kings or walls, but in the flow of people, in commerce, in conversation, in the slow, steady pulse of routine. By mid-morning, the forum hums with energy, gentle yet insistent. Every sound, footsteps, laughter, clatter of goods, blends into a rhythm, a quiet heartbeat of the growing city. Rome wakes, fully, but not violently, not suddenly. It rises like the sun itself, slow, inevitable, enduring. Shh. Aqueducts and flowing water. The sun leans higher, spilling warm light across the outskirts of Rome. Stone arches rise gently against the sky, their curves smooth and purposeful, carrying water from distant hills to the city below. The scent of damp stone and fresh water mingles with the earthy aroma of nearby fields. Water flows steadily through channels carved by careful hands, its surface catching sunlight in ripples of gold. Each drop seems deliberate, part of a slow, hypnotic rhythm that stretches across miles of stone and earth. The sound is soft, continuous, and strangely soothing. Workers move along the aqueducts, adjusting stone, sealing joints, checking for leaks. Hands feel the weight of rock, rough and cool, fingers pressing into cracks and grooves. A small bird alights on a ledge, wings brushing stone, drinking cautiously from a trickling stream. The water feeds fountains in the city, spilling over carved basins into shallow pools. Children gather nearby, toes skimming the surface, faces bright with curiosity. Merchants and elders alike pause to watch the flowing water, its gentle, persistent motion a reminder of both necessity and ingenuity. At night, lanterns catch the arches in soft light, casting long, dancing shadows across stone and water. The city sleeps, but the water continues its journey, unceasing, patient, eternal. Engineers and builders understand its power quietly, not in spectacle, but in rhythm, not in noise, but in continuity. Every stone laid, every channel carved, every drop flowing, an unspoken promise that the city will endure, that life will be sustained, that Rome will grow, slowly and steadily along the pulse of water. The Tiber flows nearby, echoing the soft cadence of aqueducts, reflecting stars and the faint glow of lamps along the city streets. Ripple, glint. And so Rome thrives quietly, invisibly, in the measured flow of water and time. Every drop, every stone, every whisper of movement builds the heart of a city destined for greatness. Daily life of citizens. Morning returns to the city with a soft light, brushing rooftops and streets with pale gold. The smell of fresh bread drifts from ovens, mingling with herbs and damp stone. The city hums quietly, a slow rhythm beneath the rising sun. Shh. Women move through narrow streets, baskets balanced on their arms. Cloth brushes against skin, rough yet familiar, the fibers catching light as they bend and stretch. Shh. Tup, tup. Children follow, small feet padding over uneven stones, laughter bubbling softly but restrained. Ha, ha. In the workshops, artisans shape metal, clay, and wood. Hammers tap lightly against anvils. Scrape, tap, thud. Each movement is deliberate, measured, part of the quiet pulse of the city. A potter smooths clay, fingertips tracing every ridge, every imperfection, the surface cool, soft, and yielding. The forum fills slowly. Merchants arrange goods with care, grains, olives, textiles, and pottery. Clink of coins, whisper of bargaining, muted laughter. Clink, murmur, whisper. Elders confer quietly, discussing laws and disputes, hands gesturing gently to emphasize points. In homes, the aroma of cooking fills rooms, mingling with the scent of hearth smoke and earth from the streets. Children eat slowly, mothers watching, fingers brushing crumbs from their faces. The texture of bread, warm and soft, contrasts with the cool stone beneath their small feet. Crack, soft sigh. Evening approaches, and the city does not rush to sleep. Lanterns are lit, their glow soft and flickering, casting dancing shadows along walls and streets. Click, flicker. Voices drop to whispers, the rhythm of life slowing but never stopping. A dog pads softly across a courtyard, ears twitching at distant sounds. Pad, sniff. Every small action, the placing of bread, the hammering of metal, the quiet steps along stone, is part of the living heartbeat of Rome. Not the grand victories or the high walls, but the countless repeated rhythms of daily life sustain the city. They form the invisible threads that bind a civilization together, slowly, steadily, endlessly. Shh. The first light of morning stretches across the city, slipping between columns and over stone streets. The Forum, now alive with the murmur of citizens, also holds a quieter, more deliberate rhythm, the weight of governance beginning to settle in. In a shadowed chamber behind tall columns, senators gather. Their sandals scrape softly against stone floors, voices low and measured. Step, shuffle, whisper. Each man leans slightly forward, fingers brushing carved desks, feeling the weight of their responsibility. They discuss law, trade, and alliances, speaking in calm, deliberate tones. The sound is hypnotic, repetitive, like the gentle lapping of water on the Tiber. Murmur, murmur. A scroll is unrolled, ink dark against parchment, edges curling faintly. Fingers trace the words slowly, absorbing meaning with the rhythm of breath. Outside, the city continues its daily life. Merchants call softly. Children run along streets. Artisans hammer and carve. Yet here, inside the chamber, time seems slower, deliberate. The decisions made in this quiet space will ripple across stone streets and riverbanks. Sunlight streams through open windows, catching dust motes in slow spirals. The effect is mesmerizing, each particle suspended in the golden light, drifting with soft movement. Drip, glint, sway. A senator pauses to touch a carved column, feeling grooves and imperfections smoothed by generations. They are reminders. Rome is ancient already, yet still young in power. The stone remembers, even if the people forget. Outside, a messenger arrives with news. Footsteps are soft but urgent, sandals scraping against stone. Step, shuffle, tap. The senators listen, nod, plan. Every gesture calculated, every decision measured, every breath deliberate. As evening descends, the chamber empties. Lanterns are lit, casting long shadows along the floor. Click, flicker. The Tiber glimmers faintly outside, reflecting stars and distant lamps. Ripple, shimmer. The Senate sleeps lightly, but its presence lingers. Not in shouts, not in banners, but in the quiet shaping of law, order, and expectation. Rome's voice is calm, steady, unhurried, yet powerful, growing stronger with each passing moment. Shh. Festivals and celebrations. The sun sets slowly over Rome, painting the sky in muted shades of amber and violet. Shadows stretch across the streets, softening the hard edges of stone and timber. The city exhales, readying itself for an evening unlike the ordinary rhythm of daily life. Drums beat softly in the distance, a slow, steady cadence that moves like a heartbeat through narrow alleys. Lanterns flicker along streets and around squares, casting long, dancing shadows on walls and doorways. People gather, dressed in simple tunics or robes, their colors muted by evening light. The air is filled with the faint aroma of roasting meat, honey, and incense. Whiff, sizzle, smoke. Children weave through the crowds, small hands brushing against fabric and stone, faces wide with curiosity. Musicians play flutes and lyres, notes floating softly, weaving between voices and footsteps. Flute, pluck, hum. The sound is hypnotic, a gentle current that carries the city's heartbeat into celebration. Priests move through altars and temples, hands lifted in quiet ritual, whispering prayers that drift into the night. The scent of burning herbs rises, curling lazily into the sky. Whiff, hiss. Candles illuminate carved reliefs, casting flickering light across faces of gods and heroes, still and eternal. Stalls are laden with fruits, grains, and small trinkets. The quiet clink of coins, the soft rustle of cloth, the gentle murmur of bargaining, these form the background hum of a city alive yet calm. Clink, rustle, murmur. Evening deepens, voices lower, steps soften. The river glimmers faintly, reflecting torchlight and the soft dance of stars above. Ripple, glint. Through it all, the rhythm of celebration continues, not loud, not overwhelming, but steady, hypnotic, calming. Rome is alive in quiet joy, its people bound together by ritual, by song, by the gentle pulse of communal life. In these slow, deliberate movements, the heart of the city beats stronger, steadier, enduring through time. Dawn creeps slowly over the city, brushing rooftops and stone streets with a pale, golden light. The air carries the faint scent of parchment, ink, and the soft warmth of morning fires. In a quiet courtyard, scholars gather, seated on low benches or leaning against stone walls. Scrolls unroll carefully, parchment brushing softly under practiced fingers. Ink glistens on the surface, dark and deliberate, each stroke forming words that will travel through time. The sound of quills scratching against parchment fills the air, a rhythmic, hypnotic tapping. Eyes trace each line slowly, absorbing knowledge, contemplating meaning, repeating phrases softly to themselves. Outside, the city hums with life, yet here it is calm, measured, deliberate. The scent of herbs from nearby gardens drifts through the courtyard, mingling with the warmth of baked bread and the faint tang of the river. A teacher speaks softly, voice low and melodic, almost like a chant. Students lean closer, listening, memorizing, repeating. The repetition, gentle and unhurried, lulls the mind into rhythm, embedding lessons deeply. Lanterns flicker faintly as the morning light grows stronger, casting long, shifting shadows across stone floors and wooden desks. Each scroll is a bridge between the past and the present, a repository of stories, laws, and knowledge waiting patiently for the hands of careful readers. Beyond the courtyard walls, life continues. Merchants call softly, sandals brush against stone, children laugh in quiet alleys. Yet within this space, time flows differently, slow, deliberate, measured. Every breath, every glance, every touch of parchment is part of the city's quiet heartbeat. By midday, scholars arise, stretching fingers and backs, but the scrolls remain. The lessons, the words, the memory, they endure. Rome grows not only in walls and armies, but in thought, reflection, and the steady accumulation of wisdom. The afternoon sun tilts low, spilling warm light across the city's stone streets and echoing through narrow alleys. The faint scent of water, steam, and heated stone drifts through the air, carrying whispers of both relaxation and ritual. The baths stand as quiet sanctuaries, vast spaces of polished stone, smooth tiles, and gently flowing water. Steam rises in soft, curling tendrils, carrying the scent of minerals and oil, mingling with faint traces of soap and herbs. Citizens enter slowly, sandals clapping softly against stone floors. Step, clack, shuffle. The heat presses gently against skin, muscles relax, and the body unwinds from the rhythm of the streets. Pools glimmer under lanterns, water rippling with soft, continuous motion. Ripple, splash, glint. Men and women move quietly, voices low, conversation muted like a gentle current. Some soak in silence, others trace fingers along mosaic edges, feeling the smoothness of stone beneath skin. Finger, tap, ripple. Steam drifts upward, curling around columns and arches, softening the harsh lines of stone. The sound of dripping water from fountains and aqueduct channels creates a slow, hypnotic rhythm. Drip, splash, hiss. Attendants move carefully, oiling skin, arranging towels, whispering instructions. Every movement is deliberate, quiet, unhurried, part of the meditative pulse of the baths. Swish, tap, shuffle. Evening settles outside, the city growing still under soft lantern light, yet inside the baths remain alive in their gentle, continuous rhythm. Breath rises in clouds above warm water, mingling with steam and soft conversation. The Tiber reflects faint light nearby, silent witness to countless moments of calm. Ripple, glint, shh. The Roman baths are more than stone and water. They are a ritual, a heartbeat, a sanctuary of quiet in a city that constantly moves. Through each drop of water, each soft step, each inhalation of warm, scented air, the pulse of Rome flows steadily, endlessly, hypnotically. The sun slips slowly behind distant hills, casting long, softened shadows across the rooftops and streets of Rome. The city exhales, shifting from the muted bustle of day into the gentle rhythm of night. Lanterns flicker along alleys, casting pools of warm golden light on worn stone and timbered walls. Click, flicker. The smell of wood smoke drifts from hearths, mingling with the faint aroma of herbs, bread, and the river. Whiff, hiss. In quiet homes, families gather near fires, hands brushing over wooden tables, bowls shifting gently, fabric rustling softly as they move. Rustle, clink, shuffle. Children yawn, curl beneath blankets, the soft sigh of sleep rising like mist in the warm, dry air. Soft sigh, murmur. From the streets, the distant murmur of conversation ebbs into whispers. Merchants close shops, doors creak on worn hinges, footsteps fade into quiet stone corridors. Step, creak, shuffle. The Tiber glimmers faintly under the moonlight, its surface rippling softly with water flowing endlessly toward distant horizons. Ripple, glint. Shadows of trees bend and stretch along the banks, leaves trembling gently in a cool night breeze. Rustle, shh. In the temples, lamps flicker low, illuminating statues of gods and heroes. Prayers are whispered softly, words carried into the night, blending with the rhythm of the city's heartbeat. Whisper, flicker, shh. Even the streets seem to breathe slowly, a measured rhythm of life continuing under moon and star. Dogs pad softly, rats scurry quietly, and the faint hum of distant water accompanies the slow, steady pulse of Rome. Pad, scurry, drip. Rome sleeps gently, yet never completely. Every stone, every arch, every ripple of water carries the memory of day and anticipation of tomorrow. Rome's pulse is quiet, hypnotic, eternal. Shh. Night gives way to dawn, pale light stretching across the hills and valleys that cradle the city. The roads leading out of Rome are quiet, smooth ribbons of stone and earth carrying the weight of empires yet to come. Merchants prepare for travel, packing carts carefully with goods, tying bundles with rope that rubs softly against rough cloth. The scent of fresh bread, herbs, and leather fills the air, mixing with the faint dampness of morning dew. Soldiers walk alongside wagons, sandals brushing stone, armor clinking faintly with each measured step. Their eyes scan distant hills, alert yet calm, taking in every detail, a curve in the road, the shimmer of a stream, the shadow of a tree. Travelers exchange quiet words, murmurs of markets, towns, and distant lands. Even as the city sleeps or wakes, these roads carry life outward, extending Rome's rhythm into the wider world. Birds rise from olive groves, their wings cutting the morning air in soft, fluttering arcs. Water glimmers in streams beside the roads, rippling gently over smooth stones, reflecting the faint pink and gold of early sunlight. The earth is firm beneath wheels and feet, yet the motion of the travelers transforms it slowly, rhythmically, like the heartbeat of the land itself. Villages emerge along the roads, clay and stone houses bathed in morning light. Smoke rises softly from hearths, the scent of cooking drifting lazily into the air. People move quietly, performing familiar, deliberate tasks, drawing water, tending animals, stacking firewood. Rome is not confined to walls. It flows outward, carried by footsteps, wheels, and rivers. Every mile traveled extends its pulse. Every stone touched by sandals becomes part of the rhythm of an empire that will endure far beyond any single life. Morning light spills softly over Rome, catching the tops of columns and the edges of carved stone. The scent of parchment, ink, and warm stone drifts through narrow corridors where the quiet of study is sacred. Shh. Scholars move slowly, scrolls unrolled across benches, fingers tracing the smooth texture of fine parchment. Rustle, tap, whisper. Ink glistens faintly in the gentle light, each letter deliberate, forming words that echo through time. The air is filled with soft sounds, quills scratching, pages turning, footsteps muted on polished stone floors. Tap, flip, step. The rhythm is hypnotic, almost meditative, as knowledge flows gently from one hand to another, from mind to mind. In alcoves and chambers, statues of philosophers and teachers watch silently. Their eyes, carved in stone, seem to follow the movement of hands and the slow unfolding of scrolls. Whisper, shuffle, shh. Lanterns flicker along walls, casting long dancing shadows that shift as the sun climbs higher. Click, flicker. Dust motes drift lazily through the air, suspended in golden beams, moving with the gentle currents of warmth rising from the stone floors. Drift, glint. Students repeat phrases softly, voices low and rhythmic, embedding the lessons in memory, letting them sink slowly, deeply. Whisper, murmur. The sound blends with the faint rustle of garments, the gentle tap of fingers on parchment, forming a continuous pulse of thought and learning. Outside, life moves quietly. Water trickles from fountains, the Tiber flows steadily, leaves rustle in trees, merchants prepare for the day ahead. Ripple, rustle, murmur. Rome's temples of knowledge are more than buildings. They are sanctuaries of patience, meditation, and quiet growth. Each scroll, each whispered word, each measured breath contributes to the rhythm of the city, expanding its heartbeat beyond stone and river. Shh. Shadows of power. The sun sinks low, painting the city in muted shades of gold and violet. Long shadows stretch across streets, columns, and rooftops, softening the edges of stone and timber. The air is heavy with the mingling scents of earth, incense, and faint smoke from distant hearths. In the Palatine Hill, senators and patricians move quietly through marble halls and courtyards. Their sandals tap softly against polished stone, voices low and deliberate. Curtains shift gently in the evening breeze, carrying the scent of herbs and warm air into the chambers. Orders are given with subtle gestures, nods, and brief murmurs, each word measured, each pause significant. The rhythm of power here is quiet, hypnotic, deliberate, a soft pulse beneath the city's daily life. In nearby streets, life carries on. Children run briefly along stone paths, merchants close stalls, and the Tiber glimmers faintly in the dying light. The city's heartbeat continues, interweaving with the whispers of ambition, the quiet plotting, the measured steps of those shaping the empire. Torches flicker along walls, casting long, dancing shadows across arches and corridors. The sound of distant water trickles softly from fountains and aqueducts, blending with the muted murmur of voices and the occasional clink of metal. Drip, ripple, clink. Rome is vast, its power immense, yet fragile, built not only on armies and walls, but on the rhythm of daily life, the quiet flow of law, commerce, and knowledge. Every stone, every breath, every whisper contributes to the subtle pulse of control, ambition, and history itself. As night falls fully, the city exhales slowly, shadows deepening, lanterns glowing softly, and the Tiber reflecting the last traces of sunlight. Shh, ripple. The empire sleeps, yet its presence is eternal, quiet yet omnipresent, shaping not just the city, but the very rhythm of civilization. Power, like Rome itself, is steady, measured, and hypnotic, flowing endlessly through streets, hearts, and stones.
Night deepens over the city, wrapping streets, hills, and walls in a cloak of muted shadows. The moon rises slowly, silver and pale, spilling gentle light over stone battlements and narrow alleys. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of damp earth, leather, and the lingering warmth of the day. On the city walls, soldiers stand in quiet vigil. Sandals scrape softly against stone, armor shifting with measured creaks and whispers. Step, clink, shuffle. Their eyes scan the dark horizon, alert but calm, watching for any movement beyond the city gates. Lanterns swing gently along the walls, casting pools of warm light and long flickering shadows. Click, flicker. The sound of distant water trickling from fountains below mixes with the occasional whisper of trees from wind. Drip, shh. A horse snorts quietly in a nearby stable, hooves shifting in the soft straw. Snort, shuffle. The rhythm of breath, the gentle shifting of soldiers, the faint clinking of metal forms a hypnotic cadence that stretches along the walls like a slow heartbeat. Inside the barracks, others prepare quietly. Weapons are polished, leather straps adjusted, and blankets folded with care. Scrape, tap, rustle. Conversations are low, deliberate, words repeated softly to anchor minds in routine and readiness. Whisper, shuffle. The Tiber glimmers faintly below the walls, reflecting stars and lanterns alike. Ripple, glint. The city sleeps around the walls, but vigilance continues, measured, rhythmic, endless. Every footstep, every glance, every careful gesture is a layer in the pulse of Rome, sustaining the city in both safety and the quiet anticipation of the unknown. Even in darkness, the heartbeat of the empire flows steadily, hypnotic, eternal. The city lies in quiet repose, streets empty, lanterns flickering softly along stone paths. A gentle wind carries the scent of earth, river, and faint smoke from distant hearths. The moon casts silver light across rooftops, columns, and the slow-moving Tiber. Inside a small study, a scholar sits alone, parchment unrolled across a wooden desk. Quill in hand, fingers trace letters slowly, deliberately, forming words that will endure beyond the night. The ink glistens faintly in the lamplight, each stroke hypnotic, rhythmic, meditative. Candles flicker gently, casting soft, dancing shadows across walls lined with scrolls and clay tablets. Dust motes drift lazily through shafts of moonlight, suspended, moving with subtle currents of warm air. The scholar murmurs softly, repeating phrases, drawing patterns of thought and memory. Outside, the faint ripple of the river accompanies the scratching of quills, blending with distant sounds, a dog padding along a street, the rustle of leaves in the night breeze. Every sound, every gesture, every careful movement is part of a slow rhythm that anchors the night. Time seems to stretch, drawn out by concentration and calm, wrapping scholar, study, and city alike in a soft, steady pulse. The world outside sleeps, yet knowledge flows quietly, hypnotic, unhurried, like water moving beneath the city walls. Each word written, each scroll read, adds a subtle layer to the heartbeat of Rome. Even as night deepens, the rhythm continues, silent, calm, eternal. The scholar breathes slowly, ink glistening, quill poised, mind attuned to the pulse of the city and the flow of history. Before the sun fully rises, the city hums softly with the first stirrings of life. The air is cool and crisp, carrying the scent of earth, morning dew, and faint smoke from hearths already lit. Merchants open wooden shutters, the scrape of hinges echoing faintly against cobblestones. Cloth folds back, revealing rows of carefully arranged goods, bundles of herbs, strings of olives, pottery, and woven baskets. The faint aroma of spices and fresh produce drifts through the air. Early buyers appear, sandals brushing stone, coins clinking softly in leather purses. Conversations are low and deliberate, rhythmic in repetition, greetings, prices, agreements murmured softly. Children run briefly between stalls, the soft slap of feet on stone adding a playful counterpoint to the calm rhythm of trade. Dogs wander quietly, sniffing crates and baskets, tail flicking lazily in the morning light. Water from nearby fountains trickles gently into stone basins, adding a steady, hypnotic backdrop to the quiet hum of commerce. The Tiber glimmers faintly in the distance, reflecting the pale gold of the rising sun and the slow movement of early traffic along its banks. Even as life accelerates, the market retains a calm pulse. Every movement, every word, every transaction part of the steady heartbeat of Rome. The city grows in these small, deliberate rhythms, each day layered upon the last, quiet yet persistent, hypnotic yet full of life. The temples at twilight. The sun dips low, casting a soft amber glow across Rome's hills and stone streets. Shadows lengthen and bend, curling gently around columns, statues, and temples. The air is fragrant with burning incense, mingling with the earthy scent of worn stone and evening dew. Priests move quietly along temple steps, sandals whispering against polished marble. Step, shuffle, tap. Their hands brush over carved reliefs, feeling the grooves and textures worn smooth by generations of devotion. The faint flicker of oil lamps cast moving shadows, making the gods seem alive, silent yet present. Flicker, sway, hum. Worshippers gather softly, voices low, almost blending with the rhythm of the city itself. Whisper, murmur. Some kneel, some bow, some lift offerings, grains, wine, flowers, small tokens of gratitude. Each gesture deliberate, every movement a part of the hypnotic flow of devotion. The distant Tiber reflects the fading light, rippling quietly beneath arches and bridges. Ripple, glint, shh. Leaves tremble gently in the evening breeze, brushing against stone and water with soft whispers. Rustle, sway. Lanterns flicker along temple corridors, casting gentle light across walls and statues. Click, flicker. The soft murmur of prayers, the faint scent of herbs, and the rhythm of sandals on stone combine into a slow, hypnotic cadence. Time seems to stretch, measured not by sun or clock, but by breath, movement, and devotion. Rome, even in twilight, is alive with rhythm, quiet yet insistent, eternal yet gentle. Every shadow, every whispered word, every flicker of flame contributes to the heartbeat of a city that never truly sleeps. Shh. Night has fully settled over the city, draping Rome in a blanket of quiet and silver light. Lanterns glow faintly along streets, arches and columns, their flickering reflections mirrored in the Tiber's gentle flow. The air is cool and calm, carrying the faint scent of stone, water, incense, and distant hearth fires. Shh. From the hills to the forum, the city breathes slowly, a rhythmic pulse that stretches across stone streets, temples, baths, and homes. Step, ripple, rustle. Dogs pad softly, sandals scrape lightly on cobblestones, and water drips from fountains in continuous hypnotic cadence. Drip, shuffle, ripple. In homes, families sleep. In temples, candles burn low. In barracks, soldiers rest lightly. All is calm, yet beneath this quiet, the heartbeat of Rome persists, steady, eternal, subtle. Every sound, every breath, every small gesture contributes to the invisible rhythm of the city. Whisper, flicker, shh. The Tiber glimmers beneath moonlight, carrying reflections of lanterns, stars, and the faint movement of the night breeze. Ripple, glint, sway. The city's pulse flows outward into its roads, aqueducts, and distant lands, reaching every hill, every field, every citizen. Rome is not only walls and armies, not only emperors or senators, not only temples or forums. It is the rhythm of daily life, the gentle flow of time, the quiet accumulation of knowledge, devotion, and human endeavor. It is breath, water, stone, and shadow pulsing together as one. As night deepens, all sounds soften, merging into the hypnotic cadence of the city's eternal heartbeat. And in this stillness, Rome lives, not in spectacle or triumph, but in quiet continuity, enduring endlessly through time. Shh.